And I could not wear a T-shirt like Mark for at least another 6 months, but I will take off my jacket so that I don't look too formal.
Soon.
Soon. It's going to happen soon. So, yeah, sit down, everybody. Relax. So, these are some extraordinary entrepreneurs. Some are just getting started. Some seem to be moving along pretty well. But I thought this was wonderfully representative because it's from different regions of the world. It's companies that are at different stages. And maybe we can just start by having everybody introduce themselves, describe a little bit about what they're doing. And then we can sort of have a discussion about what's been easy, what's been hard, how can government policy, like the US government policy, help in advancing some of these issues? How can other countries' governments, because we have 20 representatives from other governments participating in this summit, how should they think about encouraging entrepreneurship? And then most importantly, how can other businesses and venture capital, et cetera, think about some of these international opportunities? So why don't we start with you and tell us, I was hearing some of the great work you're doing. Tell us more about it.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. I'm a software engineer. I have an engineering background. One day I heard that the first startup weekend is happening in Cairo. And I was not invited, but I went anyway with my friend. I went with my friend Nihal. She was invited, and she turned out to be my co-founder. And we were there just to learn about startups, meet mentors and other entrepreneurs. But it was very hard to network and meet people during the event. We felt like there is a gap between the organizers and the attendees. And then a week after, we attended TEDx Cairo, and we had the same experience. We felt like there should be a better way for organizers to organize events and for the attendees to experience events. Everyone is there for networking, connecting people, and sharing experience. So we did our research, and we were very passionate about the idea. We felt like we can do something in the event space. So we quit our jobs, and we started working on this full-time before even having the name of Eventus. And now we have a full engagement and networking platform for events. It's a very interactive app with 86% engagement in most of our events. So we're helping people getting together during events. And now we have a great team, 2 offices in Cairo and Dubai, and we're working with most of events in our region. When I look back on the journey, it wasn't easy at all. It was very challenging. It was very exciting as well, but it was full of ups and downs. And we started before even the first accelerator in Egypt to start. We had few mentors back then, but now we have a number of amazing startups, a number of mentors and support organizations who are working together to build the ecosystem. So I can see the ecosystem has grown very well, but we still have a lot to do.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jean Bosco.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. So when I was growing up in the rural villages in Rwanda, I used to spend countless hours in the forest collecting firewood for my parents and fetching water. And that was not just me, but dozens of other children in Africa are facing the same challenges. They are involved in laborious activities to help their parents just to prepare their meal instead of going to school. So as I was growing up, I kept thinking about something that I can do to help these families have access to other alternative fuels that they can use to replace charcoal wood that they have been using for many years. So I came up with an idea of integrated waste management approach, whereby we collect waste and then we turn them into affordable and environmentally friendly products in form of briquettes and biogas that the people can then use. And that is like a green cooking fuel, which can improve health and sanitation in homes. As we started, it has been 2 years, and we have employed more than 25 people, giving them permanent jobs, and we are trying to expand to other areas of the country so that we can continue to improve sanitation, as well as providing this kind of alternative fuels, which can improve health and mitigate climate change in the country and Africa in general.
Excellent.
It's an honor to be here. I'm still trying to get over the fact that you just introduced me. I'm so happy. So I lead Laboratoria. We are a social enterprise, and I started it in Peru 2 years ago. We are now in Peru, in Chile, and Mexico. And what we try to do is to go out and find talent where nobody else is looking for it. So we try to identify young women who haven't been able to access quality education or job opportunities because of economic limitations, and train them to become the most awesome web developers they can be and connect them with employment opportunities in the tech sector. Something that I realized is that when our students join our program, most of them are completely unaware of their potential, and they come thinking that it's going to be really hard to break this vicious cycle of low-skilled employment, underpaid employment, or just domestic work. But they soon start learning to code, and it's just such a powerful skill set. A few weeks into the program, they start building their first websites, their first apps, their games, and showing them to the world, and it's so empowering. And 6 months after joining, they're ready to go out and join the workforce. So we have students who get 3 job offers from the coolest companies in town. They go out, they get to decide where they want to go and work. They triple their income, so they significantly improve their economic circumstances. They start supporting their families. And I think most importantly, they start realizing that anything is possible if they work hard enough for it, no? And we have students that have gone from working at a corner shop in a slum to working at the IDB in Washington as developers, a few blocks from the White House. So really, they are an example that anything is possible, no? And they're changing not only their lives, but they're changing their communities, their cities, and I think they are transforming the tech sector in Latin America. They are bringing the diversity and the talent that the sector needs to really become a leading force in our economies. And I'm pretty sure that as we continue to grow and reach thousands of women in the region, they are going to change our countries for the better, and making sure that we can actually base our growth on the most important thing that we have. That's our young talent.
That's great. Now, when we were talking backstage, I had been reading about this, and I said 60% of the women who had gone through this program now were employed, and I was corrected. It's now 70%. I had old data, but I think it's important to point out your success rate has been quite extraordinary already. So
thank you.
It's wonderful. Mark, when there was a time when you were sort of in their shoes, but now, obviously, Facebook's success has been extraordinary. But I'm sure that you still can connect with the stories that are told here and some of the stories out there. How's Facebook thinking about its own role in creating this platform for entrepreneurship around the world? I know that's something that you've been thinking a lot about.
Well, it's really inspiring to be here with so many great entrepreneurs. And to hear about all the work that you're doing, and it's an honor, so thanks for having me. To me, entrepreneurship is about creating change, not just creating companies. And the most effective entrepreneurs who I've met care deeply about some mission and some change that they're trying to create, and often they don't even start because they're trying to create a company, right? And that's how I think about my connection to all of us here is when I was getting started, I cared deeply about giving everyone a voice, right? And giving people the tools to share everything that they cared about, and bringing a community together. And it started small in one university. And I didn't think it was going to be a company at the time. As a matter of fact, I was pretty convinced that at some point someone would build something like this for the world. But I thought that would be some other company that already had thousands of engineers and was used to building stuff for hundreds of millions of people around the world. And what ended up happening was that no one built it. Right? So we just kind of kept on going. Right? I mean, people said at each step along the way, what you're doing, all right, maybe college students like it, but no one else is going to like it. And there's not going to be any money in doing this. So, all right, so you only really do it if you care, right? If you're passionate about doing it. And then it started growing, and people said it would be a fad, and it would never be a good business. But you keep going because you care, not because you're trying to create a business. And then there was the shift to mobile, where people thought that it wouldn't be a sustainable business. And through each of these things, the entrepreneurs who I think build things that last for a long time keep going because they care fundamentally about the change that they're trying to create in the world, and they're not in it just to build a company. And I carry that with me today. So today we have we live in a world with more than 7 billion people, but more than 4 billion of us are not on the internet. And we talk about having an equal opportunity to be able to create a change in the world, and I think that's a really hard thing to do if you don't have access to some of the basic infrastructure and technical tools that are necessary to build this kind of these kind of technical products. So, I kind of think about what we're doing today very similarly to how I thought about where we were at the beginning. I get people all the time who come to me and say, all right, well, you're investing billions of dollars in trying to put internet connectivity in places where we don't get paid for it. It's not something that we'll make any money from for a very long period of time if it works out. But it's this deep belief that you're trying to make a change, you're trying to connect people in the world, and I really do believe that if you do something good and if you help people out, then eventually some portion of that good will come back to you. And you may not know up front what it's going to be, but that's just been the guiding principle for me in the work that we've done. And I hope that some of the work that we do can play a role in empowering you and so many more entrepreneurs to build the next great companies.
Excellent. So for the three budding entrepreneurs, you've already had some success and positive feedback, but I know that it's still hard sometimes and frustrating. And let's go back to the earlier question that I asked. What do you find to be some of the biggest hurdles for your success? And are there policies that either your governments could be pursuing or that the United States, in conjunction with your governments, could be pursuing that would really make this process, if not easy, then at least a little bit smoother? And are there questions or concerns that you have in terms of how more established businesses like Facebook, how they might be able to interact with startups like yours? So why don't we'll go in reverse order this time. Why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so I think there's been many challenges along the way. On our case, we try to disrupt many preconceptions, I think. So at the beginning, many people were like, how are you going to train people in months, and get them a job? How are you going to get young women who went to a public high school that's not very good to actually become competitive in the labor market? And I think luckily we've overcome those, and we've proved that they are incredibly talented, that you can learn in months instead of years. Right. And most of the companies that hire our developers actually rehire, so they've realized that they're great, and they're as competitive as anyone else who comes from a different background. So I think that's been very, very encouraging on our way. And I mean, the little secret that I have, I think, being a social entrepreneur is that motivation is everything, and when there's bad times and where we are not making the end of the month to pay all our people. And when we're facing all these challenges, I usually just go into the classroom. You know, I'm like, okay, let me go into the classroom. And I talk to the girls that study with us, and it's just, I mean, they are the main force behind not only myself, but all my team, you know, my partners and all my team, because they are fighting so hard to making it happen. They are traveling, sometimes commuting 4 hours a day to come and go back. They have, on top of their studies, a lot of domestic responsibilities, and they're proving that it can be done. So that's always a reality check to say, you know, I have everything I need to keep going at this.
Mm-hmm. Good. John Mosca.
Great. I think one of the most biggest challenges that I have faced was because I started this company very, very young. At that time I was 19 years old, and in my culture, it is believed that those great initiatives are started by old people, and those things which have been difficult for older people cannot be possible for young people. So I tried to disrupt that status quo, and I created this company. But of course, during that period, no one was even trusting me so that he can be my employee. So I had to be my own marketer, I had to be the technical boss, I had to be everything in the company so that I can build that kind of first impression, so that I can impress few people to come to me and help me run this course. And the other challenge that we were facing is that a lot of financial institutions didn't even know what we were talking about, because these are the kind of renewable energy that we wanted to bring to Rwanda. And you would find a lot of folks working in banks asking you, what are you trying to do? Because they don't even understand what you are doing. It was like very difficult for them to analyze and calculate the risk that might be involved in the activities that we are trying to do. But because I trusted my solution and this kind of thing that I want to do to my community, I kept pushing, applying for different competitions, and luckily I won the United States Africa Development Foundation grant to start this initiative. And when I started, people started to see how you can take advantage on waste that you already have to produce some products which can then go back in communities and be solutions which can improve lives of many people. And then from there, people started coming. But the lesson that I learned from that very basic experience is that no matter what you're trying to do, necessary is that you are having that kind of motive in your mind that you want to help your society move forward. So the policies and the other partners, stakeholders will come along the way to help you run that initiative. But that will happen once you start. If you don't start, no one will come and join you.
Good. So we've heard, no, it's interesting. I mean, part of what the two of you have described is, first of all, you know, each country has its own culture, and there are going to be sometimes some cultural barriers, whether it's attitudes about women and what they can do, whether it's attitudes about young people and how seriously they take a young person. You know, Mark had to deal with that a little bit, but here, obviously, in the United States, and particularly in Silicon Valley, I think that's begun to change. But there's also just basic issues like financing and having access to capital, particularly when it's a new idea and it doesn't fit the existing models that the banks or other financial institutions may have. Do those kinds of challenges resonate in your experience? And how did you navigate through those?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think all the entrepreneurs, like everywhere in the world, we share the same challenges. I think I did almost every single mistake that you read about in every startup-related book. I learned everything the hard way. So yeah, it's a learning process. It's funding was one of the challenges, of course. The other one was the legal system and the legal structure, especially in Egypt. It's not startup friendly. So you have to do a lot of workarounds, and you have to be persistent to get over that. Building a team as well, and like I'm a woman. I started, I was young, and
You're still young, I think.
yeah.
I think you qualify as young.
So yeah, I had almost the same challenges. It's I would say that the only thing that keep us going is believing in our idea, believing that we can do something, we can add value to people's life, and this is the only thing that keeps me walk every day in the morning and go to work.
Yeah. Well, look, all of you just are expressing what Mark said, which is it starts with a passion. If you start off just saying, I want to make money, but there's no clear mission behind it, then when you start hitting some of these barriers, sometimes it's very hard to push through them. With respect to some of the barriers that you're talking about, the U.S., in connection to the Entrepreneurship Summit, what we've been trying to do is take best practices and learn lessons about what's working and what's not. And so, in the grants that we're providing or the training that we're providing, what these summits have been really useful in doing is hearing directly from entrepreneurs and say, this program doesn't work as well as it could. This one works really well. What we're also trying to do, though, is encourage governments to listen and hear from entrepreneurs to build a different kind of culture. So the point you made, Maya, about how hard is it to get a business started, right? How much paperwork do you have to fill out? What kinds of fees do you have to pay? How much bureaucracy do you have to sort through? That's something that here in the United States we've had to deal with ourselves, and what we've tried to do is to both simplify processes, but also use technology in ways that means you don't have to travel across town in Cairo to go to an office, and the person you need to see isn't there, and then you have to travel back and reschedule the next day, and the traffic's terrible, and it's driving you crazy. If you can go on the net and do a lot of that work ahead of time, that can make a huge difference in accelerating the process that you're doing. And so I'm very glad that we have 20 countries represented here, because part of what we're doing is getting commitments from those other countries to say, we're going to learn from each other and figure out how we can streamline these efforts so that we're making life a little bit easier for young people like you.
Yeah, actually, when we started, we didn't know where to start from. Like, we couldn't find any information online, for example, on how to get the company registered in Egypt. We didn't know any startup lawyers or anyone who can register the company for us. So we had to go ourselves and ask for help from other people, and we couldn't find any information. It took us so much time, efforts, and money.
Yeah. Well, even here in the United States, where it's much easier to do business, we still have 16 agencies that are in charge of doing business. We've tried to streamline them into one. It requires congressional action. So so at least what we've tried to do is to consolidate the websites so that it's easier to get the information, even though you still have to deal potentially with 16 different agencies for different needs. So there are specific things that the government can do to be more entrepreneur friendly. How can companies like Facebook or Google or some of the venture funds that are represented here, how should they think about finding good ideas? What sorts of mentorship or training would you find most helpful? Obviously, having experienced entrepreneurs or people who've seen startups in the past maybe can help you avoid a few of the lessons. And part of the goal of the summit here is to build these networks so that that kind of mentorship is available. But Mark, I know that Facebook's already doing some of these issues. Tell us about some of the things that you're excited about, and then maybe we can hear from them about other networking opportunities that they'd be looking for?
Sure. Well, we have a developer program all over the world where we go around and it's called FB Start, and we give entrepreneurs free access to tools, and some of them, a lot of the tools that people can use are free from Facebook and other places. But in order to help get started with businesses, we give to different companies tens of thousands of dollars worth of Facebook tools to get started. But it's also important to help people learn how to use the tools. So we do these entrepreneurship workshops around the world and for both people who are starting to create technical companies, but also for small businesses, which are, I think, an important part, maybe less the focus of this summit. But that's a huge part of what we try to do around the world and help people get on the internet and connect with people that they're trying to sell their products to. And we have more than 50 million small business pages that are on Facebook, and a large number of them use it as their primary presence for communicating with people and attracting new customers. So that's a pretty good basic tool that's out there. The biggest thing that I'm personally focused on is connectivity, though. I mean, I think for you guys, and we talked about this a little bit backstage. I think you're mostly in places that have reasonable connectivity. I mean, you were talking about how sometimes when you go home, it's not so good. But in general, I think for a whole nother big population wave of folks, this really is a blocking factor. Right? I mean, if you grew up and you've never used a computer or you've never had access to the internet, it's often hard to even imagine what you're missing out on. So this is a local problem that I think we need to do a better job of empowering folks in different countries to be able to spread connectivity. I mean, this isn't something that the US or some American company can come in and do. In the places where it's worked, it's been in partnership with local companies and local entrepreneurs and local governments. And that's also something that I'd love your guys' advice on, how you think we could be doing a better job of spreading connectivity to enable not just you guys, but other entrepreneurs who haven't even had the opportunities that you've had to build things as well.
Well, tell us what's happening in Peru in terms of connectivity, and how does that connect with creating the supply for all these wonderful young women that you're training? Obviously, things are growing.
Yeah.
But speak to Mark's point about how you see things unfolding, both in Peru and in Latin America over the next several years.
First of all, Facebook is such an amazing tool for us because we often target women who have had limited access to the digital world as a whole, but no matter where you go, Facebook is there, I think that young people today initiate their digital lives through Facebook. So every single girl in our program, even though they don't have email and they have a limited use of the internet, they have a Facebook account.
Well, Mark's very happy to hear this.
Yeah.
I am.
And this is a great connection because it's a starting point, and we usually start on our events where we do awareness raising about our program and encourage young women to apply. We talk a lot about Facebook because this is a web app, and do you know what's behind it? And that's actually a very important thread in our communication. So thank you, it helps a lot. And in terms of connectivity, I think Latin America it's moving forward, but there's still many important challenges. As we were discussing before, the service is not often the best because there's very few companies in the market, and this brings some challenges, And we also have many of the Latin American countries are very centralized in the capital city or in the major cities, where usually connectivity is not a problem, but as you get further away, it becomes a challenge, So I think it should definitely be a priority for our governments. In the case of Peru, I think the government is realizing that this is important, and I have to say we've been really lucky, both in Peru and in Chile. We've had support from the government because they realize that they not only need to expand access to digital services, but they also need to start bringing in more people to create digital products. We have a talent gap And if we want to evolve and have more digital services, who's going to build them? So that's been really lucky on our side. And just one final point, I think it's crucial for entrepreneurs to work hand in hand with big companies and with government. I think that we entrepreneurs have the amazing advantage of being able to take huge, sometimes irresponsible risks, you know? We can just go out and try new things all the time. And this is something that as you become larger, and if you're a government, it's way harder, no? So I think we have a role to play there in building new things, in creating new things, and I think when it comes to scaling up those things, these partnerships are essential to enable us to take what we've built and created and tested and tried to a larger scale.
I think that's a great point. So, for example, the kind of training you're doing, even with our entire education infrastructure here, we still have that same gap.
Yeah.
We initiated something through our administration called Tech Hire, where we're going into communities and cities that where people can't imagine that they could somehow be part of the tech industry. Yeah. And what we're finding is that through months of training, in some cases through a community college, in some cases companies who are joining with us, it turns out that you can train people very effectively. And as we prove concept, now we have the opportunity to scale up throughout the job training programs that already exist in the US government. So I think you're making a terrific point that in the same way that your individual companies are taking risks, proving concept, and then trying to scale up in the private sector, part of what governments need to be doing is when they see something that is working, a tool, an app, a mechanism that saves time, makes something more convenient, makes a product more accessible to people, then we have to be prepared to change how we do business and potentially scale up as well. So you know, you're right that it's hard sometimes for governments to take massive risks, but what governments can do is to partner with entrepreneurs, start small, work out the kinks, and then be able to back the process of scaling up in that way. So, Jean Bosco, any additional thoughts in terms of how not only Mark, but all these VCs out here can help you out? Make your pitch, man. Tell them how they can pull out their checkbook. And
Yeah, I think Facebook is doing a great job in terms of improving connectivities. And when you look at the situation in my country, we are really trying, but we still have a long way to go because connectivity is only available in cities, and you know, although you can find it in villages, but it's not really fast, so that you can use it on some more activities like watching videos or sending heavy files to other people. So we are still having a challenge in terms of connectivity and a rapid internet. But what we're trying to do as small businesses is looking at the tools that big companies like Facebook offers so that you can benefit from them, like using messengers to exchange messages with our potential customers. And you know, we use adverts to see how we can disseminate messages, you know, because in my country, a lot of people don't know these kind of waste management things that you want to bring. And you see that in many places, people don't sort waste at the source. They just throw waste everywhere. But we are using this kind of technology to teach people that they have to sort waste from organic to non-organic because this is beneficial in this way and this is harmful in this way. So we are trying to use these kind of tools to disseminate such image. And the challenge that we are still facing is the fact that, you know, when you are still small, of course, you are like having like 10 years in front of you so that you can attract attention from many people to come and join you. But depending on this kind of spotlight, exposure, support that you are getting from different people, we are trying to benefit from these kind of initiatives to disseminate the messages and bring attention of many people to what we're doing.
Good. Mike?
Yeah, I don't know where to start exactly. In Egypt, Facebook, we started a revolution out of Facebook. So Facebook was the only way we communicate during the revolution, and after that, and I believe I believe you have the numbers, but the Facebook penetration has grown tremendously since then, and it's a basic tool now. Like now, everyone in Egypt, they have Facebook, and we were just talking about Facebook basics, and now it was blocked in Egypt. So I think there's a lot to do. And also, back to the connectivity thing, I think I'm praying now if, I'm not sure if my team and my family are watching this or not, because they can't live stream. I hope they are not seeing the
buffering?
the loading.
That's so irritating.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it's very basic.
I hear you. If it makes you feel any better, it happens to me too. You know,
Yeah, it's...
I thought, I'd have the best gear, but I'm just sitting there waiting.
Yeah, it affects the business as well. Now I moved to Dubai, and I have to manage the team in Cairo, and it's very hard to communicate. It's very hard to do like a Skype call with the team or something like that. So we have to work around it. We have to pay a lot of money. Actually, I have been trying to get another line in the office for like 4 months now, and we still didn't get another line. So the network.
That's in Dubai.
That's in Egypt, in
That's
Cairo.
Cairo.
Yeah. No, Dubai is
better.
It's even, yeah, it's much more better. Yeah.
Well, look.
Yeah, they're doing an amazing job in Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some of this is you raise a couple important points. First of all, the huge opportunity here is for countries to leapfrog existing infrastructure. And obviously we see this in Africa, in India, places where mobile banking and payment systems have accelerated even more rapidly than they have here. Farmers using information to access prices to markets so that they're selling their goods at a decent price. So there's an infrastructure and connectivity function that governments can play. You're raising another question, an issue though, which is a sensitive topic in some countries, which is openness. Okay, it is hard to foster and encourage an entrepreneurial culture if it's closed and if information flows are blocked. And what we are seeing around the world oftentimes is governments wanting the benefits of entrepreneurship and connectivity, but thinking that top-down control is also compatible with that, and it's not. People remark on my 2008 campaign and how we were really early adapters of so much technology. It wasn't because I knew what I was doing. It's because a bunch of 20-year-olds came to me and said, hey, there's this new thing called MySpace, or,
Ouch.
And, that was just a little dig there. But the point is that they had all this stuff that I had never heard of. And if I had tried to maintain control and say, no, we're going with, pamphlets, because I'm used to pamphlets, and I can control what's in the pamphlet, then I might not be sitting here. So, well, the same is true for governments as a whole. There is a cultural shift that is sometimes difficult that says we are empowering individuals and we are open to ideas, we are willing to admit new information that maybe contradicts our old preconceptions. We're willing to test those new ideas, and if they don't work, we're going to try something else. That's the connection between connectivity and the internet and science. Part of what has created all this, part of what Stanford is all about, is our capacity to say, we don't know. To say that all the received wisdom might not be right, and we're willing to test it. And that is threatening sometimes. It's threatening to governments, it's threatening to cultures, but that is the essence of discovery and innovation. And so one of the things that we've been trying to do and encourage through the State Department is to gently and sometimes bluntly talk to governments about their need to maintain an openness and a confidence in their own people. Now, what makes it harder, admittedly, is the fact that the openness and the power of connectivity also can empower some bad people. And so us wrestling with how do we counter the sort of violent extremism that can end up poisoning the mind and resulting in what we saw happening in Orlando. That's a constant balance that we're trying to weigh. But what I worry about is people using that as an excuse then to try to block things off and control the flow of information. And that's a question that I think young people are attuned to and are going to have to pay attention to, and all of us are going to have to fight for in the years to come. Well, this has been an extraordinary conversation. How are we doing on time? We're all done, but I'm having so much fun. Give our panelists a big round of applause. Congratulations for the great work you're doing. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. And I'm sure your family was watching.
I hope so.
If not, they'll be seeing it on the YouTube. Thank you so much.